Howdy folks, and welcome back to World of Tanks with the mighty Jingles, and Frontlines is now up and running on the World of Tanks live servers. I had actually played this game mode in the past quite some time ago when they were testing it on the sandbox server, and it survived mostly intact onto the live servers with a couple of notable differences, probably the most important being that on the sandbox server Frontlines was reserved for tier 10 vehicles only. But here on the live server, as you can see being demonstrated by Silent Killer 97 in his ISU 152, it's reserved for tier 8 vehicles only. Now I can see the sense behind this, and I do agree that this is a good change for reasons which I'll go into in a moment. But before I do that, can we all just press F to pay respects for camera minion Eddie, who saw my original sandbox server Frontlines video, got very excited about it and immediately started grinding out a whole bunch of tier 10 tanks, just so he could play Frontlines when it eventually went live. Yeah, he's not very happy. Sorry Eddie, but it's not my fault, is it? Making this game mode tier 8 rather than tier 10 just seems like such an obviously good idea that I'm surprised nobody thought of it when they were running this game on the sandbox server. Because, well, let's face it, tier 8 matchmaking really is a bit dog shit, isn't it? How many times can you ever remember being top tier when you queue up in a tier 8 machine? Nobody likes being at the bottom of the matchmaking pile, which is why so many people play their tier 10s every chance they get, which is why so many people who are grinding stock tier 8 tanks keep ending up in tier 10 matches. So, yeah. Oh, nice shot. Making this game mode tier 8 only seems like such an amazingly good idea, because it means you can play your tier 8s just for a change and never have to worry about facing tier 9s and 10s. Having said that though, assuming Frontlines becomes popular with the tier 8s, and I don't really see any reason why it wouldn't, I'd be very interested to see what's happening to tier 10 matchmaking, with substantially less tier 8 cannon fodder to go around to fill up the team lists. But that's a subject for another video. Right now, we're enjoying watching Silent Killer 97 ruffle stomping all of the rental tanks in his ISU 152. Is it still fair to call this thing the troll cannon? Because it's not the same machine it used to be since they removed the BL10 gun. This 152mm D4S is still a pretty good gun though. In fact, it's not really that different from the BL10 that it replaced. Which kind of begs the question, why did they bother replacing it? It's got 260mm of penetration, it's got the same awful rate of fire, awful accuracy and awful aiming time. Well, not exactly the same, but close enough as to make almost no difference. I mean, look at that. That's just... I think we can still call this thing the troll cannon. Oh, I mentioned rental tanks. Yeah, this is another feature of the Frontlines game mode. You may have noticed certain T-32s, and that one didn't go anywhere near where it was aimed. Well, you know, that's just what this gun's like. But yes, you may notice certain T-32s and T-44s that have the FL suffix on their name. That stands for Frontlines. These are the rental tanks. Which probably goes some way to explaining why they're all driving backwards and forwards, sideways on, in front of Silent Killer 97's troll cannon and getting decapitated with monotonous regularity. Because, let's face it, if you're driving a rental tank, at least at the start of a Frontlines battle, it probably means you don't actually have any proper tier 8 tanks of your own. So you're basically driving around with a big "I am a noob, please shoot me" sign over the top of your tank. Or maybe you just happen to prefer the T-32 or T-44 to your Object 252 Defender, IS-6, Scorpion G, KV-5. You never know, it's possible. Or perhaps you just want everybody to think that you're a noob. Ah, I see. Sneaky. I like the way your mind works. Anyway, what's going on? Is that guy going to move out? Doesn't look like it, but... oh, red alert! M4 Ravioli detected. Platoon mate Critia takes a shot, and the Ravioli very conveniently actually climbs over the concealment that would have protected him from getting bitch slapped by this troll cannon, and Silent Killer 97 scores yet another kill. So, for those of you who possibly haven't played Frontlines yet, what's it all about? Well, it's 30 versus 30, and it's a 9 square kilometre map, so yeah. But it's not quite 30 versus 30 at the start. The map and teams are actually split up into a bunch of sectors, and it's only really 30 versus 30 in the final sector, right at the northern end of the map. Down here in the first 3 southern sectors, it's actually more a case of 10 versus 10 in 3 different locations. The objective for the attacking team in each of the 3 southern sectors, Alpha, Bravo and Charlie, is to capture their sector. Once they've done that, 2 minutes is added to the clock, and the team can then advance further north and fight for control of the next northernmost sector. In fact, we're just about to see the team in the neighbouring sector over in Bravo complete the capture of that. And there it is. Bravo has been captured. 2 minutes has been added to the clock for the attacking team. The game is won or lost when the attacking team make it into the final northernmost sector, the big-assed sector right at the northern end of the map, where this finally turns into a 30 versus 30 tank brawl, and destroy any 3 of the 5 objectives in that sector. If they fail to do that before their timer runs out, the defending team wins. It's not possible to win by knocking out all of the enemy tanks, however. Well, not technically, because there is a respawn mechanic. Everybody begins the game with 1 respawn. If the tank that you're driving gets knocked out, you can pick another of your tier 8 tanks, or pick one of the 2 rental tanks that everybody has available. Every 5 minutes of game time, everybody's granted another respawn. Now, you can't accumulate more than 3 respawns, but for that to happen, you'd have to still be surviving in the same tank after 15 minutes of game time had elapsed. Which is not impossible, but it's unlikely. If you do have 3 respawns accumulated, when your first tank gets knocked out, then you use one of those respawns. The clock continues ticking, and after a further 5 minutes of game time, assuming you haven't lost your second tank, then a third and final respawn will be added to your collection. But at that point, 20 minutes of the game is going to have elapsed, and it probably isn't going to last much longer. So effectively, you're probably not looking at respawning more than 3 times during the course of a Frontlines battle. One final respawn condition, and this one's very important. If there are at least 12 other allied tanks fighting in the same zone, you cannot respawn in that zone. Now, that's not going to be an issue at the start of the game, because, as we've already seen, the zones are split up, with 10 tanks per team fighting in each zone. But when you break through into that final northern sector, where this game eventually turns into anything up to 30 versus 30 tank brawl, providing there are at least 12 players on your team already fighting in that sector, nobody on your team is allowed to use any of their respawns. Well, that's not strictly true. You can use your respawns, but you can't respawn into the zone where at least 12 other friendly tanks are fighting. You could use your respawn to appear in any of the southern zones, but then you'd be playing catch-up. You can see right now that since these zones have been captured, the enemy team are in full retreat. And it's not because they're all screaming cowards. They have 1 minute to evacuate this zone and retreat to the next northernmost zone, otherwise they all get targeted by airstrikes. And there does seem to be a lot of open ground that these guys have to cover before they can actually get back into the relative safety of the next northernmost zone from which to begin defending. It's a shame they didn't see this coming and bugged out sooner. But then again, well, that's the way it was in real life as well. Armies in headlong retreat, that tended to be when they suffered their most casualties. Meanwhile, poor old Silent Killer 97 is having a little bit of a first world problem here. He's been doing so amazingly well that this is his final round of ammunition. So, well, we may as well use it on that object over there. Yeah, did some damage. And picked up a promotion to Captain. But now, he's dry. All he has left to throw at the enemy is harsh language. But that's okay, because there are repair and resupply points scattered around the map. If you have a look, you can see that there's one to the north and to the south of Capture Point Alpha, and that's exactly what he's heading for right now. So, what's this Captain rank that Silent Killer has achieved? Well, there are actually 5 different ranks that you can earn during the course of a Frontlines battle. Everybody starts off with the rank of Private, and you can be promoted to Sergeant, Lieutenant, Captain, Major, and if you're any good, General. Now, having currently achieved the rank of Captain, even assuming Silent Killer doesn't get promoted any further during the course of this battle, and we've got every reason to expect that he will earn an experience bonus of 50% towards any experience earned as a result of this particular game. If he gets promoted a Major, he'll get a 100% experience bonus, and if he makes it to the dizzy heights of General, he will earn a 200% experience bonus. As well as that, each rank also comes with a bunch of what are called tier progress points. 550 tier progress points for achieving the rank of Captain in a battle, 1,000 tier progress points for achieving the rank of General in a battle. Because Frontlines isn't just a new game mode, it's also a new game event that started on the 7th of May and ends on the 3rd of June. And there are 30 different tiers of progress that you can accumulate by playing Frontlines. You begin the event at tier 1, and you can advance all the way to tier 30, and every time you advance a tier you're awarded combat reserves, consumables, premium account time, stuff like that. Just in case you're a particular glutton for punishment, once you reach tier 30 during the Frontlines event, you can choose to reset your progress all the way back down to tier 1 and collect the rewards all over again. You can do this anything up to 4 times, and each time after the first that you make it all the way up to tier 30, as well as all of the other rewards, which you'll be earning multiple times, you'll also be awarded 100 combat bombs. Except for the 4th time you do it, where you'll be awarded 1,000 combat bombs. Oh, one other thing. You probably haven't noticed yet just from watching the gameplay, because it's the sort of thing that you only notice when it happens, and it specifically hasn't been happening in Frontlines, and what I'm talking about is friendly fire. There is no friendly fire in Frontlines. There's still artillery, unfortunately. I mean, what do you want, the moon on a stick? You can't have everything. But at least you know that if you go face-hugging an enemy tank and artillery chooses to help you, they're not going to accidentally kill you in their... we'll be generous and not call it greed to be the one to get the kill on the enemy tank that you're engaged in close combat with. So, you know, at least there's that. There are also a bunch of combat reserves that are specific to this game mode, and we'll talk about those in a moment, but first we're going to witness the humiliation of this poor KV4. I mean, you know, that is not going to end well for anybody. Sideways onto an ISU 152. But where's he going to go? I mean, the poor guy. There's no way he's getting out of there alive. He's getting shot at from 3 different directions. So, yeah, well, that's a respawn for the very unfortunate KV4 there. But anyway, these combat reserves, which you haven't actually seen Silent Killer using yet, because he doesn't have any equipped, because he hasn't earned any, because this is his first ever Frontlines battle. Picked a hell of a machine to do it in. Yeah, combat reserves. You may have seen other teammates who've been paying attention to the battle messages appearing above the minimap. You will have seen that other players have been calling in reconnaissance flights, airstrikes, artillery barrages, things like that. These are the combat reserves that you can earn by playing Frontlines, which you can use in Frontlines. And they pretty much do exactly what they say on the tin. You don't have to be a genius to work out that you don't want to be under an artillery strike when it gets called in. An airstrike, however, isn't quite as dangerous. It's still not pleasant, it doesn't do a huge amount of damage, affects a wider area than an artillery strike, but it stuns everybody in the area for up to 16 seconds, so that's not nice. There are other combat reserves which you don't really see people using that often, because they don't do any damage, and they're team focused, they're unselfish. Things like inspiration, which improves the crew performance of your vehicle and of all allies within 40 meters of you for 40 seconds, and provides a flat 10% bonus to everybody's crew skills. I'm pretty sure I did see somebody using the inspiration bonus in this battle on this team. At least once, but I've lost track of the number of times I've seen people calling in reconnaissance flights to spot enemy tanks and calling in artillery strikes and airstrikes on enemy tanks. It's just, that's the kind of bonus it is. It's not selfish, it's team focused, so naturally you don't see as many people using it. Oh, incidentally, I don't know if you've noticed, but Silent Killer's team have just taken this sector, and that's important because there is not a lot of time left on the clock. Just 5 minutes and 50 seconds. And having taken one of the central sectors, everybody is now free to advance to the final northern sector. Well, you've always been free to advance to the final northern sector, the only thing stopping you is the enemy tanks. and the fact that there's nothing for you to actually do there, because until somebody takes one of these central sectors, none of the northernmost objectives become available. And it's those northernmost objectives that must be taken down, any 3 of the 5 that are available, in order for the attacking team to win. They're probably still going to want to take those 2 remaining central sectors, because every one that they take adds a further 2 minutes to the battle timer. There is one final combat consumable which I don't think we've seen anybody using yet, and which I think is a very welcome addition to World of Tanks, and that's the smoke screen. Yep, we finally get smoke screens in World of Tanks, although only as a combat consumable in the Frontlines game mode. And I dare say the enemy team could probably have used a smoke screen when they were all in full retreat from Zone Alpha and falling back to Delta, and they were getting shot in the back over and over and over by Silent Killer's team. But, well, I guess those airstrikes and artillery strikes were just more attractive, although I suspect they're probably regretting their choices. Anyway, we've made it. Silent Killer is about to advance into the final sector, and in this final sector, which is absolutely huge and covers the entire northern end of the map, there are 5 objectives which must be destroyed. It's not easy to destroy them, though. They're dirty, great big gun turrets. Each turret has 3,500 hit points, more than any tank in the game. Fortunately for the defending team, you can't just drive up to the border of the map sector and unload your troll cannon into it 5 or 6 times, and then repeat the process on 2 of the other 4 targets, because these gun turrets cannot be penetrated from the front. Well, they can. They do have some weak spots. There are some vents and hatches, but they're absolutely tiny, and you're probably not going to hit them with this gun. You have to work your way around the sides and rear of these turrets to be able to do any kind of effective damage to them. They have 165mm of armour on the sides and only 90mm of armour to the rear. Now, I know you're all thinking, oh, that's simple, I'll just pick artillery. I mean, I'll wreck my tank if I have to, then use one of my respawns once we get this far, and I'll just park my artillery a kilometre away and rain high explosive death and destruction down on one target after another. No, you won't. Well, you might, but you won't be doing any damage, because artillery also has to hit them from the sides and rear. And so good luck with that. You're far better off, if you are in artillery at this stage of the battle, using your shots to support your teammates so they can work their way around to the sides and rear of the objective turret. 5 minutes remaining. They've got 5 minutes to knock out at least 3 of the 5 objectives. Although they still haven't taken one of the central sectors, and if they can take that, they'll gain an extra 2 minutes on the battle timer. Oh shit, he's been spotted. Caught in the open, in an ISU-152? Oh, that's not going to end well. Well, there are a lot of enemy tanks over there that he can't see who are very, very upset with him. Oh, there go his tracks. Repair kit, get them back up. Oh, there goes one of his loaders. First aid kit, getting him back up. Is he going to live? Yeah, he's going to live. Well, at least for now. Right, yeah. The ISU-152, very powerful gun, but it doesn't like getting shot at much. Yeah, let's not go that way. There are a lot of very angry enemy tanks over there. Let's see what we can do around here instead. There don't seem to be many friendly tanks actually in this sector. Don't forget, you can't use any of your respawns to respawn in a sector where there are 12 or more friendly tanks fighting. So, as you can probably imagine, that's going to be more of an issue for the defending team than the attacking team, but it's still going to be an issue for the attacking team. Particularly since the attacking team still haven't captured that mid-central sector, and they only have 3.5 minutes left. Oh, check that out. His very first Frontlines game and he's been promoted to General. Jolly good show, old boy. There may very well be a medal in it for you. Actually, there may very well be a medal in it for him. Frontlines also introduces a bunch of new epic achievements, one of which is General of the Army, and there are 2 criteria for earning the General of the Army epic achievement. First, be a general, so he's already got that. And secondly, be the top player with the highest XP at the end of the battle. And looking at the amount of damage that he's done, there's a fairly good chance that he's got that as well. Actually, the amount of damage that he's done is deceptive. He's probably done substantially more than that. There were a couple of blind shots that he took that almost certainly hit and very probably caused damage, so he's probably actually looking at something more in the region of 17 or 18,000 damage done so far. Oh, he's dead now. Yep, the best he can hope to do is just get one more shot off. Which he does, and then, yeah. It wasn't the T-32 that killed him. He did in fact kill the T-32, but the T-32 spotted him. When you're in an ISU-152 and you get spotted and you're on that kind of low health, it doesn't take long for you to die. So now he gets to use his first respawn. One of many that he's accumulated so far, and he gets to pick which area of the map he's going to respawn in. And the team are still really struggling with that central sector there in Echo. And they only have 2 minutes left. So, Silent Killer, IS-3, and we're respawning up here. 2 minutes of the game remaining. If the team could get their asses together and capture Echo, that would give them another 2 minutes. But it's still going to be really tight. Because even with the further 2 minutes, they still haven't actually destroyed any of the objectives. Speaking of which, we haven't actually seen any of these objectives yet. Let's see what we can do about that. There's one over there, big-assed gun turret. There, do you see it? Hang on, I'll freeze it. There, that. Knock out any 3 of those, and the attacking team wins. But remember, the front of the turrets are invulnerable unless you can hit some very small weak spots. You're probably not going to be doing that with a BL9 gun. Oh, hello, an S-tank. With exactly 390 health, and this gun does 390 alpha damage, so naturally, just for once, he gets a low damage roll. Incidentally, I do have a small correction to offer. Yes, I know, I got something wrong. Who would have believed it? Let's move on. That's not important. Let's not dwell on who said what to who. I did say that each time the attacking team took a sector, they gained 2 minutes on the battle timer, and that's true. But when they take their final sector, they get 4 minutes on the battle timer. And since Silent Killer here has a T-54 Mod 1 closing on him, he's getting shot up by an S1 and a Progetto 46, and there are just 5 seconds left on the clock. The team could probably really use those 4 extra minutes. And then, plot twist, match runs out, goes into overtime. It's like watching England versus Germany. This match is going to end in a penalty shootout, and England is going to fuck it up. Anyway, the game went into overtime. Oh, and during overtime, 4 minutes added, they finally took that final sector. Okay, the reason the game went into overtime is because the battle time elapsed and at least one player on the attacking team remained inside a base circle. You can gain up to 180 seconds of overtime. As it was, they gained 90 seconds. But in that 90 seconds, they finally took that final sector. So they now have exactly 3.5 minutes. That's the good news. There is bad news. The bad news is they still haven't destroyed any of those gun turrets. And as you can see, well, it doesn't matter because he's dead. But we finally got a good view on those gun turrets with its 165mm of side armour, which he might have penetrated if he'd gotten around to pulling the trigger. So, respawn number 3. What's it going to be, Silent Killer? And it's here where we get to see one final addendum to the respawn rules. He can't actually respawn just yet, he has to wait out a respawn time, which is going to be a few more seconds. And now he can pick a zone to respawn in. Any of the ones that his team controls. Why isn't he respawning? Okay, there are just over 2.5 minutes of this game left, and his team haven't managed to knock out a single one of those 5 turrets. They have to knock out 3 to win, otherwise it's a victory for the defending team. At this point, you may be thinking to yourself, well, what's the point? We've clearly lost. I've got 13 kills. I've probably done 20,000 damage, including the blind shots that I didn't actually see hit the targets. And we haven't even knocked out one of the objectives yet. Why should I waste further repair costs on this loser team? Well, the game's kind of got that one covered as well. Because if you just sit out the respawn on this screen and refuse to take any further part in the battle, the game will put you into the battle whether you like it or not, and whichever tank you currently have selected. And there he is. T-34-3. They've almost certainly still lost. There's only 1 minute and 42 seconds left. But while the game is almost certainly lost, that's not the same as certainly lost, and it certainly will be lost if everybody just sits in the garage looking at the map rather than actually taking part in the battle. So you may not like that mechanic, but I can see why they put it in. let's at least see how much damage he can do before this battle winds down to its fairly inevitable conclusion. Oh, hello. It's an ISU. And he's missed. Oh, yeah. That Progetto didn't. Sitting up there on what looks like Himmelsdorf. Wow. Himmelsdorf certainly gets around a bit, doesn't it? Took another hit there from the Progetto. A minute left. Yeah, they're not going to win. Wow. Just about the only part of the front of an ISU 152 that you're not going to penetrate, and he managed to hit it. Well, that's the T-34-3 for you, and it's ultra reliable and accurate Chinese gun. The team haven't managed to take out any of these objectives. They've managed to damage some of them. They've reached some of them, but if you look at the map, the attacking team are all concentrated in the centre. They don't control the flanks, and if you don't control the flanks, you're not going to get shots into the sides of any of these turrets, so you're not going to be able to knock them out. So you pretty much have to congratulate the defending team here, because they've managed to establish enough map control that despite the fact that it looked like they were on the run for large parts of this battle, they do very much have it under control. And, oh, yep, Silent Killer is about to die. Yes, there it goes. And there are only 3 seconds of this game remaining. They're not going to get further overtime, so that is a victory for the defending team. And that, kids, is the new Frontlines mode in World of Tanks. Hope you enjoyed today's video, and as always, take care, and I'll catch you next time.